From the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation, Outdoor Oklahoma.
Well, hello and welcome to Outdoor Oklahoma. I'm Todd Craighead. What would come to mind first if I mentioned Canton Lake here in northwest Oklahoma? Well, historically, you might mention things like, well, the wind, or maybe the Canton Walleye Rodeo and the great walleye fishing, or possibly the world-class sand bass and crappie fishing. However, recently, Canton Lake is cropping up more in conversations about drought, Oklahoma City, and, well, the threat of potential fish kills. You know, it's no secret that Canton Lake is experiencing historic record low water levels. And today we're going to take an in-depth look to find out what's being done to protect the fish of Canton Lake.
Well, the Corps of Engineers was authorized to construct the project in 1938 and also to maintain Canton Lake. So it's been constructed, and now we're the caretakers of Canton Lake, taking care of it for the public.
And it was built as a flood control facility partially because of the flooding in Oklahoma City. And it was also built as for irrigation and as a municipal water source storage.
The primary purpose of the lake is to prevent or at least reduce the amount of flood damage along the Canadian River downstream, particularly in Oklahoma City, but also in other towns such as Yukon along the system. A little bit later on, it was also authorized for water supply, with the city of Oklahoma City owning all of the storage for water supply in Canton Lake. When our projects are in a time of drought, there's several different things we do. One of the most important one is to hold interagency drought management committee meetings. What we do is to bring all of the different agencies together to discuss what some of the concerns are and then try to brainstorm some solutions to address those concerns. Now, there were a variety of concerns, but one of the concerns was the water quality in Canton Lake, which could deteriorate to the extent that there might be fish kills in the lake.
The idea was that Canton Lake does not appear to be coming up, and this summer, if it was as hot as they were predicting, we would have a severe thermocline in the lake and have some problems with oxygen at the lower levels, plus basically the possibility of hurting the fish population, even worse than it already had been.
Over the last couple of years, Canton Lake levels become low enough that we've become concerned with the quality of water in the lake. And so this last spring, we approached the Corps of Engineers and Oklahoma City about partnering with us to figure out the best solution to tackle this issue. We decided that putting a couple of water circulators into the lake would help improve the water quality.
Now, we had several different parties involved in this, with the Corps of Engineers being experts in lake science or limnology to try to find the best technology that might be used to do some circulation of the water. We had Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation that did the actual fisheries part of it to look at where the thresholds might be that could trigger a fish kill, and to be able to monitor the water quality to find out when such circulators might need to be deployed. We had Oklahoma City that funded the rental of the circulators, and we had the Canton Lake Association define where the deepest spots in the lake were that these circulators could be put.
And so we agreed that putting the circulators in would help break up the thermocline, give the fish a larger area to utilize, and it would also help maintain the quality of the water in Lake Canton.
Ultimately, Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation decided that rather than being reactive to a potential fish kill, they wanted to go ahead and deploy them now and test how well that they would work, because they've never been used in such a big body of water like Canton Lake. So ODWC deployed the circulators, at Oklahoma City expense using technology and advice by the Corps of Engineers at locations defined by the Canton Lake Association.
Today we came out here to place 2 of them. They'll bring up cooler water from the bottom and bring it up to the surface, and that will help mix that water. And also when that water comes up and comes in contact with the air, it'll take oxygen out of there, which will put more oxygen into the water. We've got one placed in the deepest hole of the lake, just right out from the Canadian area. Another one we placed down towards the dam. And hopefully these 2 areas will provide a little bit of a refuge for fish if water quality continues to degrade throughout the summer.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at Canton Lake here, the project purposes that they outline are flood control, water supply, and sometimes they don't quite put the value on recreation out here that we might with the Wildlife Department. This recreational fishery out here in northwest Oklahoma is one of the best. The best walleye fishery and sand bass, catfish, we've got it all. This is a good example of a partnership between Oklahoma City, City of Oklahoma City, who has the water supply storage here, the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. You know, our hope here at Canton Lake is that if we can preserve this fishery, you know, we don't want to have to come in and restock this thing because it would take years, you would lose the recreation, and it would take us probably 10 years to get this lake back. Our goal here is that if we have these refuges out here, we can preserve the fishery for the long term.
This is a relatively new management technique that we're going to be trying here at Canton, and you know, if it shows promise, it may be an option that, you know, we could take to other lakes and try there too.
The water quality in Canton is something that we're very sensitive to. We want to have good water quality in Canton because eventually we may be using that water. We also are interested in the circulators because they're kind of an experiment for us here in Oklahoma on a large scale, and we've had problems in our local lakes here, such as Lake Hefner, which we may be looking at putting aeration in there for the improvement of the water quality and possible taste and odor control in the future.
Well, we want the water in Canton Lake to be healthy. First of all, a healthy lake means a better water supply. But secondly, keeping the fish alive is important for the recreational uses. And so there's a mutual need there to keep the water as high quality as we can. And I think this investment in the aeration system will benefit all those uses.
We, in some years, do not take any water at all from Canton. When we have plenty of rain, we try to avoid taking water from Canton. In the recent years, probably the most recent take we made from Canton has probably had a longer term effect on Canton than previous releases because there has been virtually no rain in northwestern Oklahoma to recharge the lake. And Canton has been down for about 1.5 years now since we made our take.
I think this investment in the circulators is win-win for those who are using Canton Lake's water primarily for drinking and for those who are using the water primarily for recreational purposes. A healthy lake means a better water supply, and a healthy lake means a better atmosphere for fish. And on a personal level, you know, that's the lake where I learned to water ski, and I hope there's no videotape or film footage of that somewhere that somebody's going to dig up. But my family is from western Oklahoma, and I have a lot of great experiences in that area. So I hope people will realize that Oklahoma City is committed to Canton Lake long term.
We're always going to need Canton water. Canton is one of our major supplies. We have water rights currently from southeastern Oklahoma, and we're attempting to get some additional water rights, but we will continue to need Canton water from the North Canadian simply because it is a very cost-effective water, and it supplies a good part of the city in water. We are taking steps. The council and our utilities trust have approved a mandatory water conservation program whereby we will, currently we're on odd-even watering. If your house number is odd, well, you water on an odd day. If it's even, well, you water on an even day. We have additional steps to take as water levels, if we have continued drought, to step up the conservation measures that people are having to take. We have also instigated an agreement with Oklahoma State University, where we've worked on a website which is called squeezeeverydrop.com, and in that website they give recommendations on how to conserve water and how to use less water on your gardening. We've also participated in the a demonstration garden at the Oklahoma State facilities over on 10th and Portland, where people can go and see what these plants look like. There's also on our website, there are a number of pictures to show that you can have drought-tolerant plants that are beautiful. They're native, for the most part, native plants that have survived here for thousands of years through high water and low water fall, and they tend to make it. Instead of using imported plants that are high water usage, why, if you use more native plants, why, you can have a beautiful yard and not have the need to water as frequently.
Well, even though there's still a lot being done to help protect Canton Lake's great fishery in the future, the fact is, fishing is still as good as ever here. So why don't we do a little walleye fishing on Canton Lake when we come back right after this week's Outdoor News Report.
What we're on right here is a hump. Goes from maybe 12 to on the top of it 3 to 4 feet. So what we're going to do is anchor up right on the edge or on top of that hump. How much you got left? Quite a little bit. Got a knot, but that's okay. But you can see right here, that outline. This is a hump. This is a submerged island. So right there's where we are. We're kind of right on the edge of it in 3 foot of water. And so out in here below there, you're going to have, 10, 12 foot of water. So this is a submerged island. And the walleye orientate towards these submerged islands out here just in the middle of the lake. This time of year, the walleye fishing is generally pretty good. Over submerged humps and islands out in the center part of the lake. And we fish with leeches and night crawlers, just anchored up and casting out over on that hump and dragging it slowly back. Well, one thing that's interesting about this, the most unique thing, is this line right here is floats. It's made by P-Line. It's called HydroFloat line. So you can cast out and you don't have that drag on your line. It'll just float right on top. And then you've got the bobber stopper there, a slip cork with a little bit of a weight on it. You can choose any color jig you want. I make these tails. That one happens to be red and yellow, red head. So I'll just cast it out there and kind of jig it, and be pretty good if you can see a cork go under, or at least slide sideways. Tip it with a crawler, half a crawler. Just like that right there. Yeah, up here on top of this island, it's about 3 foot deep. And I'll just let it kind of float with the current, with the waves, kind of jig it a little bit. Look at him. Keeper.
if you want to get these walleye in the boat, you got to have a net. They'll either flip off, or the line you're using is so light that it'll bust off, and there goes your fish. That was my first cast.
Well, I'm wanting to get him get the cork go under for him, but it may not be the right technique. We're pretty much centered on that hump, aren't we, Kurt?
Yeah, we may be a little too far in, but we're not on the drop off. Just let it down until it hits bottom, raise it up about 3 inches, and just catch them.
Kurt!
What?
Slow down.
Slow down for what? And when I know they're not very big, not big enough, then I just jerk them in. Sometimes you lose a 50-cent jig head that way, but to me it's a challenge to catch them, and bass fishing is a lot easier to me than walleye fishing, so I'd rather walleye fish than bass fish. Plus I'd rather fish on a lake than at a pond. Of course, you can catch largemouth bass here.
You know, you would think that, you know, you hear about walleye and their sensitive eyes and all that, you know, they would fight better at night or in the evening, and that's not really the case. I'm gonna have to change tactics. The technique that we used primarily was a little bit like a drift technique, except we were anchored up, and we were providing movement on that bait by slowly reeling it across the bottom, using a weight with a leader with the floating jig head up, tipped with a night crawler or worm. It's pretty effective. It was real windy today, so we had to anchor up a little bit, but we were simulating drifting by dragging the bait across the bottom. Walleye fishery here, you know, it's 18-inch length limit, but you can catch keepers, and they make fantastic table fare, rivaling crappie. They're usually a little bit thicker fillet than crappie, but you can't beat walleye for table fare. I think there are so many shad in here. As a matter of fact, John Stahl has said that Canton Lake per area is the most productive gizzard shad lake in the state. But I think there are so many shad in here, and there's a fish right there on a leech. Good one. Oh. Okay. That one was on a leech.
That's just the luck of the draw, that keeper deal. You know, we could have catfished there all day and not caught one, but I've been right there for the last 3 weeks, and before I deleted all the marks off my depth finder, I knew right where I was supposed to be going. But now I got some work to do. We went out about 9:15 and anchored up on the edge of this drop off, and found the fish right off the bat, and I think we ended up with 45 or 50 fish, and I think I caught more than Jeff did.
Comparatively, I didn't do quite so well. I probably caught 10 or 12 fish. Kurt, he probably caught 25 or 30 fish, but I had a good time.
When the lake is down real low level like it is right now, I've got some friends that have local businesses here, and their business is probably a third of what it would be if the lake was at normal pool and everything was back the way it used to be. It doesn't really affect me that much, but it does affect all the businesses around the lake, and probably the businesses from surrounding towns, grocery stores and quick stops, that people would stock up on supplies as they were coming toward the lake.
Hey, thanks for joining us today on beautiful Canton Lake. We'd invite you to join in on our conservation conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. For all of us at your Wildlife Department, I'm Todd Craighead, and we'll see you somewhere new next time on Outdoor Oklahoma.